We might as well get started. Glad to see our TV back. Clinton City Council will please come to order. We'll begin tonight with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Gassman.
Here.
Seeley.
Here.
McGraw.
Here.
Allison.
Here.
Oder.
Here.
Connell.
Here.
O'Neill.
Here.
Thank you. Councilmember Allison.
Your Honor, I move to dispense with the reading of the regular City Council meeting and Committee of the Whole minutes of January 25th, 2017, and they be approved as published on February 6th, 2017.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Connell.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Gassman.
Yes.
Seeley.
Yes.
McGraw.
Yes.
Allison.
Yes.
Oder.
Yes.
Thank you. We have two public hearings tonight, so I will convene a public hearing concerning the accepting bid and awarding contract for Project J 2017A, 3rd and 4th Street ADA curb ramps. Have we heard anything in the clerk's office?
We have not, Your Honor.
Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to address this public hearing tonight? Hearing none, Councilmember Connell.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move that the public hearing concerning accepting bid and awarding contract for Project J 2017, parentheses A, 3rd and 4th Street ADA curb ramps be entered into the record.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Could we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Gassman.
Yes.
Seeley.
Yes.
McGraw.
Yes.
Allison.
Yes.
Oder.
Yes.
Connell.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Connell.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have a resolution accepting bid and awarding contract for Project J-2017, parentheses A, 3rd and 4th Street ADA curb ramps to Shig-Free Excavating for $337,783.90. I move this resolution be adopted as presented.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any questions? Could we have roll call then, please?
Councilmember Gassman.
Yes.
Seeley.
Yes.
McGraw.
Yes.
Allison.
Yes.
Oder.
Yes.
Connell.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Thank you. I will now convene a public hearing concerning the accepting bid and awarding contract for Project E 2017 asphalt road resurfacing. Have we heard anything in the clerk's office?
We have not, Your Honor.
Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to address this public hearing? Hearing none, Councilmember Oder.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move that the public hearing concerning accepting bid and awarding contract for Project E 2017 asphalt road resurfacing be entered into the record.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Could we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember O'Neill.
Yes.
Gassman.
Yes.
Seeley.
Yes.
McGraw.
Yes.
Allison.
Yes.
Oder.
Yes.
Connell.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Oder.
I move for the resolution accepting the bid and awarding the contract for Project E 2017 asphalt road resurfacing to Detterman Asphalt Paving LLC for $867,631.89.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Could we have a roll call then, please?
Councilmember O'Neill.
Yes.
Gassman.
Yes.
Seeley.
Yes.
McGraw.
Yes.
Allison.
Yes.
Oder.
Yes.
Connell.
Yes.
Thank you. That concludes our public hearings tonight, so we'll move into audience comment. I have a few people that wish to speak. The individuals that want to speak for the Animal Control Officer reinstatement and for the Eagle Point Waterfall, I'm going to save those to we get to the Committee of the Whole where that item actually is. But we do have one individual, Steve Comer, that would like to speak about liens and past due billings. So if you'd like to come up to the microphone and please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Your Honor. My name is Steve Comer. I'm a tax sale buyer here in Clinton County. Came here today to talk to you about liens and past due taxes and the effect it has on the property values here in Clinton. As a tax sale buyer, I had the opportunity to take a deed to 1016 South 5th Street And when talking to the treasurer, found out that all of a sudden there are another almost $9,000 worth of liens against the property. Now keep in mind, City Finance didn't certify any of these liens in 2014 when I bought the taxes. They didn't certify anything in 2015. All of a sudden I go for the deed and now there's several taxes due against the property from special assessments. The issue I have with this, of course, is if I'm a homeowner and I'm a little bit behind on my billing, if you shut off my service or threaten to shut off my service, I might be able to make up $300 or so. But when it gets into the thousands of dollars, it's virtually impossible for that homeowner to survive that. In 2014 at the tax sale, there were 38 special assessments that were lumped to the treasurer's office in excess of $1,000 on each one of those parcels. To me, that's unconscionable, but that's how the city finance department has handled that in the past. In this particular property, I could probably sell it for $10,000, but for me to sell it at my break-even point of $23,000 is virtually impossible. I put together a flow chart that I'll leave with you before I leave here today, giving a 10-year example of what the effect could have on my particular property. I respectfully request that the council consider waiving the special assessments and the past due bills of the city finance department for this particular property, and there's a financial reason for doing that. If you were to forgive those past due billings, this property would remain on the tax rolls, and even if the assessments didn't go up over the next 10 years, the city would collect $21,500 in taxes. If you did forgive it, if you did not forgive it, excuse me, then of course you would lose that $21,000. You would also have multiple calls to the city to address nuisance issues. You'd cut grass, you would shovel snow, and that could cost you anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 over that 10-year period of time. If it got totally run down, you may end up having to demolish the property, which, as you know, is a $20,000 plus issue. So the issue really is trying to think long-term versus short-term. In the short term, you could say there are liens due here against it. You need to pay them in order for you to keep that property up. That's good in the short term, but in the long term, you may lose out if I end up having to walk away from the property and the property eventually gets demolished. And that could be anywhere from $50,000 to $60,000 cost to the city. So I thank you for your time. I'll leave these examples with you. And again, I respectfully request that you work with me as a tax sale buyer, somebody who works for the county, to help keep financing done by paying those taxes and looking at perhaps forgiving these past due amounts so that property can remain on the tax rolls. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you give those to Captain Bowley, please? Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to address the council tonight? Hearing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Councilmember Allison.
Your Honor, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented on the attachment.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Councilmember Seeley?
Thank you, Your Honor. Number 20. I believe this has been amended twice now. Well, we need to pull it and then discuss it at the end.
If that's what you'd like to do, it might be simpler, and then we can discuss it at the end.
Okay.
Okay. Councilmember O'Neill?
Thank you, Your Honor. 24, please.
Anyone else?
Your Honor, I'm sorry, I'm almost positive. I had one circled, but now I don't see my circle. Isn't there one?
I think you
Might be on
have,
your old one.
Yeah, it's
Is it on your old consent agenda?
it might have been.
28. Probably 28.
I would think it would be
Oh, yeah.
28.
28.
We had multiple consent
Yeah.
agenda numbers.
It's pretty
Yeah, okay, 28.
good. I saw it for you.
Yeah, and mine only goes to 20. Oh,
There you are. Oh, you got another one circled there.
We had multiple printings, so
okay,
It's-
31 also, please.
31. Okay.
No more paper.
Anyone else? And could we have a roll call vote on the balance of the consent agenda, please?
Councilmember Connell,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Gassman,
Yes.
Seeley,
Yes.
McGraw,
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Allison,
Yes.
Oder.
Yes.
Thank you. We'll move on to motions, resolutions, and ordinances. Councilmember Gassman.
Thank you, Your Honor. claims, would move that, we receive, approve, and place on file.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Councilmember Seeley.
Hey, there she is. Anita, I just noted a couple things with the Alliant Energy claims, and Anita's just gonna give us some clarification on those.
That's correct. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Anita Dalton, Finance Director. Councilperson Seeley did notice that on the claims listing, there's about 4 Alliant Energy invoices that were entered 2 times. He brought it to our attention, and we voided the invoice today. Our system has a fail-safe measure in it, in that it won't let you enter an invoice number twice. But with Alliant Energy, we don't get invoice numbers on the invoices, they're just account numbers, and we batch it in like this. So even though there's 4 funds affected by this, it pays for this many invoices. We would have noticed it tomorrow morning when we cut checks after everything was approved in the claims listing. We would have had a check that didn't match up to any stubs. And so it would have been caught at that time, but he brought it to my attention today and we've remedied it.
Any other questions or discussion? Could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember McGraw,
Yes.
Allison,
Yes.
Odor,
Yes.
Connell,
Abstain.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Gassman.
Yes.
Seeley.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember O'Neill.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Your Honor. I have a resolution setting the public hearing, approving the emergency action plan for the Clinton dams. I move this resolution be adopted as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Seeley,
Yes.
McGraw,
Yes.
Allison,
Yes.
Odor,
Yes.
Connell,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Gassman.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Cowell.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have a resolution setting a public hearing on the FY 2017-2018 city operating budget. I move this resolution be adopted as presented.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Gassman,
Yes.
Seeley,
Yes.
McGraw,
Yes.
Allison,
Yes.
Odor,
Yes.
Connell,
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Seeley.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have a resolution accepting letter of resignation from the Clinton Fire Department from firefighter Andre Ruby. I move this resolution be adopted as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Allison,
Yes.
Odor,
Yes.
Connell,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Gassman.
Yes.
Seeley.
Yes.
McGraw.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Odor.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have a resolution approving the electronic bidding procedures and official statement.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember O'Neill,
Yes.
Gassman.
Yes.
Seeley.
Yes.
McGraw,
Yes.
Allison,
Yes.
Odor,
Yes.
Connell.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember McGraw.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to make a motion to approve the mayor's recommendations to the boards and commissions.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Would you like to read those? It's the last page. Or, here we go.
Okay, we had vacancies in the Historical Preservation Commission, and we've appointed, John Rowland. The Human Rights Commission, we've, recommended Christopher Busker and the Reverend Nathaniel Johnson. The Library Board, we've recommended Judy Carsterson and Quinn Williams. The Tree Commission, we've recommended April Dish. And then we reappointed Carolyn Tallet to the Advisory Appointment Committee, and to the ADA Advisory Commission, Eric Clausen.
Thank you. Any discussion? I just wanted, before we had the vote, I wanted to announce that we still have some vacancies on the ADA Commission. We have a vacancy on the Airport Commission, and the Zoning Board of Adjustment will, after June 30th, will have a vacancy. So we are looking for some people for those commissions. If anyone's interested, there's applications here at City Hall. And with that, could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Odor,
Yes.
Connell,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Gaspman?
Yes.
Seeley?
Yes.
McGraw?
Yes.
Allison?
Yes.
Thank you. That concludes motions, resolutions, and ordinances for tonight, so we'll move on to unfinished business. And our first item, number 20, Councilmember Seeley.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is just a technicality. Maybe I don't have the last one, but this got changed. The just compensation amount should be 1,548. Is this correct?
What's this one?
We'll find out in a minute.
Okay. I just noticed the verbiage is still wrong
The
within
verb-
where it spells out the dollar amount. 1,400.
That's an old one.
Yeah.
Is that an old one or
This
is
was
it a
in
new
our
one?
basket.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one I got. But the, see, it's
Okay,
still
yep.
wrong. It was wrong on the other one too.
No, there we go.
So I just will amend this and correct it, and life will be good.
Yeah, I see the sum of 1,476, and it says 1,080.
Well, it should be 1,548 for the
Well,
total,
still got another one wrong.
because you have the just compensation for the purchase, and then the temporary easement for 1,548.
Oh, the one for a total of 1,548, I see that.
Yeah,
one.
and it's spelling out
The spell out is wrong.
exactly.
Okay.
Oh,
Yep.
we just can't.
So if we can just correct, or can we approve this with just that correction?
Yeah, you just make a motion to approve the resolution with the written sum amount to be corrected.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution with the written sum corrected.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? You'll notice it's been duly noted. So, hearing no other comments, could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember McGraw?
Yes.
Allison?
Yes.
Oder?
Yes.
Connell?
Yes.
O'Neill?
Yes.
Gaspman? Seeley?
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember O'Neill, number 24.
Thank you. I just wanted to see if we get some, if the chief's here.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Mike Brown, Fire Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Yes, sir.
This was a split deal with Continental and electronics. Did electronics get their part done? Is that all finished up, or-
No, this is the phase one, the underground work is done, which is basically tying into the city water main and getting into the building, which was a subcontractor for Continental. So I think that's why they've sent this first, payment request for that. The, electronics portion won't be done until, Continental's done, so.
So this is not the entire bid?
No.
Okay,
no.
I didn't think
I
so.
think, I really think what it is they had subcontractors, and as you see with the, item 23, the change order, they ran into some huge issues. So I think when that subcontractor was done, they probably wanted to be paid.
Well, that's
so-
my second question.
Yes.
Since this wasn't that portion of the bid, and this is a change order, this is gonna run over?
The change order was in the amount of $3,000. What happened, just for the public and for everybody here, is the Iowa American water line that was in 4th Street, instead of being a typical 5 feet deep, was 8 feet deep and underneath bedrock. So, short of digging a giant hole in the middle of 4th Street and jackhammering the bedrock, they came up with an alternative solution to tap into the water line. So it was a $3,000 change order. So yeah, the total amount of the project's gonna be higher.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to take this resolution as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Could we have roll call then, please?
Councilmember Allison?
Yes.
Oder?
Yes.
Connell?
Yes.
O'Neill?
Yes.
Gaspman?
Yes.
Seeley?
Yes.
McGraw?
Yes.
Thank you. Number 28. I assume that you would like to have someone else make the motion to approve that, Lynn.
I'll make
Yes,
the
I
motion to
would.
approve it as presented.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Could we have roll call then, please?
Councilmember Gasman.
Yes.
Seeley.
Yes.
McGraw.
Abstain.
Allison.
Yes.
Odor.
Yes.
Connell.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Thank you. And the last item is item number 31.
I make a motion to approve it.
Well, we'll get,
Second.
Wait.
I think Lynn.
I had a problem with it.
Okay.
she wanted-
In the actual resolution, it says the Old Crow located at 210 6th Avenue South. If I'm not mistaken, it's at 501 2nd Avenue
That would be right.
Second Street.
or
Second
2nd Street.
South Second Street. So the address is wrong.
Good catch.
So
Good catch.
I guess the
That's
question is
right.
the original application correct?
Yes, Your Honor, I'm sure that the original application's correct.
Okay.
The old resolution was used, and
Oh, okay.
I failed to change the
Okay.
address.
And so the one that I'll sign will be the correct one?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. I'm making a note to check that. Okay. So you want to, can you approve that one?
No, I can't.
Okay.
I make a motion that we approve number 31.
Okay.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any other discussion? Could we have roll call then, please?
Councilmember Gasman.
Yes.
Seeley.
Yes.
McGraw.
Yes.
Allison.
Yes.
Odor.
Yes.
Connell.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Thank you. That concludes our unfinished business. Could Councilmember Allison?
Your Honor, I move to adjourn to 7 PM, February 28th, 2017.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Connell.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Gasman.
Yes.
Seeley.
Yes.
McGraw.
Yes.
Allison.
Yes.
Odor.
Yes.
Thank you. We are adjourned, and we will move directly into the Clinton City Council Committee of the Whole for February 14th. I will call that meeting to order, and we'll begin with roll call whenever our clerk is ready.
Councilmember Gasman.
Here.
Seeley.
Here.
McGraw.
Here.
Allison.
Here.
Odor.
Here.
Connell.
Here.
O'Neill.
Here.
Thank you. Our first item for business tonight is the request for a reinstatement of the Animal Control Officer position, and I believe Donna May wishes to make a presentation. There you are.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Would you please identify yourself for the
I
record?
am Donna May, 1657 Circle Drive East here in Clinton, Iowa. And council members, Mr. Burke, thank you. We're here to ask the council to consider the reinstatement of the Animal Control Officer position here in town. You all have the summary that I prepared. So briefly, on January 20th, two concerned individuals who are here tonight, Robert Edens and Sean Rose, were notified that a dead dog, originally bred by one of these individuals, Mr. Rose, was present in a trash can in front of a house at 219 Fifth Avenue North. A second dog had been removed the day before. The second dog was in a state of severe malnutrition and starvation. I've hesitated, I did not provide you with photos, but if anybody would like to see them, I have them available. Okay. A police report was made, a phone call was made by Sean Rose on Thursday, January 19th to report this. We're unsure of the status of the initial investigation, but we do know that no pictures or statements were taken initially, as the officer who was contacted by Mr. Rose stated that there was nothing that he could do. So, as of February 10th, last Friday, we were told that an investigation is currently underway and charges will be filed. Okay. But it is almost 4 weeks later and nothing to our knowledge. No charges have been filed, nothing's been done just yet. Okay. I trust that the investigation is underway. What our request is that the Clinton Citizens for Animal Welfare Rights, we feel that this current state of animal welfare doesn't adequately meet the needs of either the animals or the humans in our community. I believe our community is far better than dead dogs in the garbage and languishing investigations over dead dogs in the garbage. So we want to submit a petition request. Well, we do have a petition, and I have them available. We have roughly 800 signatures, and that is just basically a petition that was grassroots promulgated. Everybody took it and ran with it. So we also request that a task force or a committee be reformed to review Chapter 91 of the Animal Protection and Control local ordinances, Clinton ordinances. We'd like to make recommendations to further the protections for animals in Clinton over what we currently have. And then finally, we would ask that should an animal control officer position be reinstated, that a member of our group or members of our group be included in the search and selection for a qualified animal control officer in this position, so that he or she is successful and that the ordinances that will be proposed be followed and enforced. Just a quick aside, roughly 2 weeks ago in Warren County, a very egregious cases of animal neglect and cruelty were found. I don't know if anyone is familiar with the Lindsay Morrow case. Within 5 days of finding out about these animals, charges were filed, including felony charges. Now, I understand the felony charges are involved with her fraudulent attempts to gain money through GoFundMe accounts. But nonetheless, charges were filed, animal cruelty, animal neglect. We ask for nothing less, that's all. I think we're better than that. I think everyone cares, and we thank you for your time and consideration for this. So if anybody would like pictures, please let us know. Anything? Any questions? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Donna. Next person that wishes to speak is Jean Regenweather.
Council, I'm Jean Regenweather. I'm from LeClaire, but have been born and raised in Clinton. My statement that I'm going to read is basically about the importance of animal control in a community. It is a position that I think is overlooked, but it plays a very important role in communities. Clinton, Iowa is certainly large enough to have a dedicated animal control officer. A highly skilled animal control officer plays many roles in the community. The position is not only about picking up stray animals. They investigate animal neglect and cruelty. They are the dedicated position to take the lead in the ACO role and not take an officer off an immediate position. They are highly trained to work and capture a possible dangerous animal or wildlife by having and attended NACA training. They educate the public not only about the local animal welfare laws and code, but also the state and federal codes and laws. They enforce the local, state, federal, and animal welfare laws. Handling bite cases, extremely important. They not only handle the physical animal, which requires a lot of training, which I'm sure the chief understands that an officer certainly does not need to be bitten if sending an officer that is not trained to deal with a bite case. They also work with the laws, with the family, about the bite case, the medical information, the doctor, and the vaccinations that will be needed and or follow-up care. Animal control officer can also go into the education systems. So important. They speak to the children. They speak to the educators about how to stay safe around dogs, around wildlife. She can also speak on responsible animal ownership. The animal control officer speaks to the public about required vaccinations. We hear it all the time. People don't have the rabies vaccinations. That is a prime education tool for animal control. The person also educates the public on correct housing and living conditions for animals, what is not lawful, what is inhumane. Neutering and spaying your pet, required vaccination and support of recommended health care for animals, nutrition or lack thereof with an animal owner, i.e. when an animal might need to see a veterinarian, and an animal control officer will also humanely assist in injured wildlife, work with animal advocacy groups in the area on responsible animal ownership. The animal control officer is the frontline position for law enforcement support in the community. Thank you much.
Thank you, Jean.
Thank you, Jean. Is there anyone else that wishes to address our topic tonight of reinstating the animal control officer position? Any comments from the council?
I'd just like to ask
Councilmember O'Neill?
ask the city clerk, has there been a petition filed?
No, council member, not in my office.
Okay, thank you.
Could we ask the chief to come
yeah,
up and
chief.
maybe explain
chief.
where we were at last
budget season.
He's on his way.
Okay.
Mayor, Council, Kevin Jury, and Chief of Police. First of all, I'd like to say I came here tonight for this animal control to support it. I think it's a good cause. But to say that the police department's not doing their job the way they started out is terribly an insult to our police department. I take it personal. We respond to every call, every time someone reports any animal abuse, personal abuse, any kind of abuse in this city, we respond to it. We are not in the habit of informing the public of all our investigations, but I assure you this investigation is being investigated. We do not ignore any call. So, not to get into any cases that have facts, and I'll answer your questions.
I guess if you could just kind of explain when we talked last budget season compared to where we're at today, why we eliminated the position, what the recommendations were from your department and the previous city administrator, what we did when that position was eliminated, what position was filled or backfilled.
Well, the reason we eliminated the animal control position was because we were told from the manpower study that we needed, and it's my personal opinion also, that we needed an evidence person to maintain security and control over all of our evidence. So we used the animal control position in our budget to hire an evidence person, because evidence is very important in all our criminal cases, all our animal control cases, anything evidence that starts and ends with evidence. So we needed someone to continue the proper chain of evidence, take our evidence to the lab and all that stuff. We needed one dedicated person to do that. And because of our budget, we were able to do it with eliminating the animal control person. And in my research leading up to that, I did a research of all the animal control calls and calls for animal control violations or an animal control officer would respond. And we responded, when the animal control officer was not working, we responded with police officers. So we felt that we can do the same job animal control is doing with our police force.
How many calls a year do we get? Do you know, roughly, or?
Well, our record system is another thing that we're updating, so it's pretty antiquated, but we had roughly a drop of 200 calls for animal control, animal calls we call them, and they're hard to break down because we don't have them statistics, but it went from 400 calls in the first 6 months when we had an animal control officer to 200 calls when we did not have an animal control officer. And they varied, all the calls varied, but they stay basically the same as far as, you know, dogs barking, vicious dog bites, you know. The volume stayed the same. There was virtually no change from animal control officer to no animal control officer.
Councilmember O'Neill?
This is for the CA. We heard anything from the Humane Society that we fund already from this, about this?
No, we have not heard anything from the Humane Society at this point.
Chief?
That we do fund, I think, $105,000 a year for them.
Have you heard anything from the Humane Society?
I've not talked to Humane Society. I've reached out to them, but I haven't had a chance to meet with her yet. That's an excellent question, because in my opinion, that's where we should be reaching out and then coordinating with the Humane Society as far as animal control.
And I had one more question for you, and without going into a lot of your case, if it's still under investigation, these two incidents that are on this sheet, this dog in the garbage and the one that was taken away, is this something that a animal control officer would have prevented if we would have had one?
No, in these particular cases, if we're not notified or not called, we were called days after this event happened, first of all. And once police are called, especially in a case of this nature, we would use investigative abilities for that. And the animal control officer does not have investigative abilities.
Thank you.
Any other questions of the chief? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Ed, did you have another one?
Just one. What was the budgeted amount for that animal control officer with salary and?
I was in the age of 85, 75, 85?
Between $75,000 and $85,000.
But fully loaded?
Fully loaded was 71 for health benefits and pay, and then there was $6,800 for a vehicle, which we still maintain, and then a phone.
And then there'd be some training that Ms. May talked about, or
Yes.
Ms. Regenweather talked about. They'd have to be trained. Okay.
And our animal control officer at the end was not up to training. She wasn't allowed to do a lot of things that a fully trained animal control officer would do anyway.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. Did the last lady that spoke, she mentioned education as an important tool. Did our last animal control officer get involved with educating citizens at all? I don't think I would recall that, but.
Well, our last animal control officer, no.
Okay. And she did. She went to the schools. Okay. Now, I guess my question here is, what role does the Humane Society play in this and the funding we provide to them? Is that outlined? I cannot recall.
There's a contract, isn't
There is a contract that spells out what they do for their $105,000.
And that's mostly taking animals that we take off the street, correct?
Yes.
And boarding them. There's no education aspect of it. Would they do anything like that?
We deal with them when we take dogs off the street, a vicious animal, they help us quarantine animals that don't have the rabies shots and stuff like that, but
Okay.
that's what their contract is for, as far as I know.
Actually, I think it would probably be a good idea, since we do have a couple of new council members, why don't we get all of the council a copy of the animal
Contract.
contract with the Humane Society? Because it does spell out exactly what they're going to do.
Yeah, I remember going through it. And in fact, we had this discussion not that long ago.
Well, we renewed it not too long ago.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
had the same term, but it wouldn't hurt, since this incident has occurred, that you review what is actually in the contract.
Yeah. Is there anything you can do within your agency right now to help alleviate some of the concerns?
We respond to every single animal call we can. I mean, there's nothing that we say we don't have time for, we don't go to. That just doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's happening, we didn't know about that, and, because I know it doesn't happen, and if it does, it shouldn't happen. But we respond to every call.
With besides that respect, I mean, and the other aspects they're talking about, where you've got the education piece and all those the interactions with the citizens. Is there anything
We do not have a officer dedicated strictly to animal control, which I agree that an animal control officer would be wonderful for that to handle strictly animal calls and educate the kids in the community. But again, that goes to Humane Society. I think it's more in their purview.
Yeah, I wonder if there's something between our existing structure, Humane Society, and some sort of collaborative effort where we can get something figured out to be
When we first
as
talked about the
effective.
animal control officer elimination, I reached out to the county folks too, and they were very interested too, because it's a legitimate concern of the community, but
Mm-hmm.
it's just not a function that I think we're losing by not having one in our city. I think our police officers are handling it very well.
And Chief, can you mention how you use the PSO at times?
We have a public service officer that does all the animal calls. Our animal control officer worked 40 hours a week. All the other time, our police officers respond to animal control calls, animal calls. So without the animal control officer, now we have a public service officer doing the same thing basically, except she's not an animal control officer. So she responds to that animal removal, animal calls, barking dogs. Anything beyond that, we send the police, because it's a vicious dog or it's a police matter.
Does she have any training for it at
No.
all? Would training be a benefit?
We could always train her. I'd never turn down training.
Couldn't it be that we look at the contract and everybody will have an idea of what's in the contract, and then where we might need to go from there?
Yeah, a
before we-
significant amount of money is being spent. So,
And it's not unprecedented that you have actually cities that have the animal control officer, like in Indianola, that is part of the Humane Society, just
Mhm.
for FYI. So that's been done before and it works well, so.
Councilmember O'Neill?
Thank you, Your Honor. Since this was a budget decision based on what the chief thought was best for his department, what I'd like to suggest that he gets some communication, or if we get communication from the Humane Society, pass it on to him, and then let him take a look at it and get back with Ms. May's group. And then if he wants to move ahead and make a budget adjustment in his budget, bring it forward to us. I think after he's the one that needs full look at everything, so if he wants to bring it back as a budget adjustment, then would be fine with me.
And I've, like I said before, we eliminated the animal control officer. I did deal with the Humane Society. It was a previous administrator, but they're not prepared to assume the animal control officer
I
duties.
understand.
So that would be the only thing that would affect my budget, would them being able to assume the animal control duties or pay for
But I
it.
think their input's germane to what your decision's gonna be if you wanna increase your budget, and it's a budget amendment to your budget, so I think that's where we need to move it to and get the information.
perhaps we could gather more information and also look into some training avenues and bring this back to the cow.
Well, what I was saying, since it was a budget decision from the police department's budget by the chief, he would need to bring it back as a budget amendment to his budget.
Oh, yeah. But I
have
mean,
to
we've
amend the
got
budget for it.
alternatives here we can discuss
Okay.
further.
Why don't we let the chief review it and see if he has some suggestions of what he'd like to do?
I'd be happy to review it with him, but my budget suggestion has not changed since,
Okay.
you know.
Yeah.
But you may have some other suggestions of things that we could do other than.
Sure, I'll look into it.
Okay.
We can find a way to remedy the concerns.
Councilmember Connell?
Thank you, Your Honor. Chief, before you take off, just, I think the other piece of this that was maybe kind of touched on by this group, the civil penalties or maybe what the laws are, that's maybe another piece that this group needs to look at going forward. I don't know what it is for a civil penalty here in Clinton right now. I don't know if you're familiar with what
Well, we
they would
talked
be.
about, we could look at the animal control ordinance. That's another, I'm sure everybody's concerned about reviewing the animal control ordinance in Clinton.
Yeah.
Because we still enforce the ordinance laws, whether we're police officer or animal control officers, so.
I think this group would probably be a good one to start with to help maybe bring those laws or penalties up into check.
It was reviewed a couple years ago. It was an extensive review, I think a complete rewrite of the ordinance.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so, and there was a lot of input into it back when it was done. Paul, you remember when that was done?
Yeah.
I'd be happy to work with the community anytime they want to work with this. You know, I'm not against it. I want to serve the people best we can.
Good.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks.
So if the council has no other questions or comments, we'll move on to our next topic for the night.
Which is?
Okay. Everybody? Okay. Our next item for tonight is the repair of the waterfall at Eagle Point Park. Margot?
Hi, my name is Margot Hanson, Clinton Trees Forever, and Randy Pennock is with me here tonight as my backup. Clinton Trees Forever is a nonprofit organization that for over 25 years has done major education and tree planting in our community. And so tonight what I'd like to do is talk about our last large project, which is up at Eagle Point Park. It was a project that was so large we decided to split it into 3 phases. Phase number 1 was a year and a half ago when we planted 100 trees, and we had about a 95.5% survival rate on those nice trees. So the 0.5% is questionable whether or not it's going to make it, for those of you interested. The second phase was to trim up the trees, a lot of trees which had never been trimmed, and clean up dead wood and trees and also wood and fallen trees around the park. And it's no disrespect to any of the people that work in the park. It's a big park, a lot of old trees, and it did need a lot of care and update. Other than trees planted here and there has been no major tree planting in that park for many, many years, many decades actually. So we felt it important to replace those plant additional 100 trees to replace trees that had been lost, and in also anticipation of the emerald ash borer. Phase number 3 is the waterfall that I think you're all aware of as you drive through the park, that last curve around before you get close to the lodge and the river. It's kind of a last wow factor, and it's one of the features at the park that people remember from forever, when they were a child and whatever. Unfortunately, that waterfall has not been functional for many, many years. Cracks in the lining of it and other things came up. So our hope is to redo and replace that waterfall, make a few changes. We have applied for and received grants, as you may see up there. We did receive a grant for $29,680 from the Clinton County Development Association. In addition to that, we got a grant for $4,823 from Trees Forever and Alliant Energy, which funds that particular program. And then we are hoping that with the city's approval that we would like to request $3,000 from the park donation fund to help complete this project. I want to flip through some pictures here and just kind of review that. I think you did get a packet that kind of shows that. As you all know, this is the waterfall. There are a few parts to the waterfall. The very top is a pond we'll see in a in a few slides. Then we have the cascading part down that had a number of cracks in it, the pond at the bottom with that little tiny bridge. So Matt, next one is good. Yeah, thank you. Mhm. And then here you can see where that water actually came off of the limestone. We will maintain that limestone wall. We'll probably clean it up, reset some of the stones that need to be reset. Okay, that's, thank you. That's good. No, keep, I'm sorry. There should be number 6, maybe. So this is an example of the second segment for that waterfall. The top would be a pool. Then there would be a ledge, a metal plate ledge, where the water would cascade over in a perfect waterfall, maybe with some backlighting. And then the second phase that you saw, part of it goes underneath a path, an asphalt walkway there, and it would cascade down to that lower area where that little tiny bridge is. We would eliminate that pond at the bottom, but we would still keep that little bridge for the kids and for photographs, but we would eliminate that pooling of the water at the bottom. All of the water, as you look at the bottom of this slide, you see how the water goes into the rock. It's what it's called a pondless water feature, in that there is no standing water. It's a safety feature so people don't fall in and drown or hurt themselves. The water goes into an open area. It's filled with rock, and then there's a basin underneath, so to speak, and the pump at the bottom would recycle the water back up to the top of the fall. So this project, we would like the city's approval so that we can open it up for bids and get this project going, and hopefully done this year. Questions?
Are these simple to maintain?
It is, because we don't have standing water, so there's not the debris maybe that would go into it and people playing in it and kids in it. We have a large waterfall at the Arboretum, and maybe not the rise of this one, but it's relatively maintenance free once you get it running. But the fact that you can't really get in, the public can't get in the water and throw things in to plug the pump. One of the problems is plugging that pump and burning the motor up. It would be drained in the winter and then shut down for the winter and then started up in the spring after the frost. Yes?
Just to piggyback on the maintenance issue or potential, it's probably going to be quite a bit less maintenance. Is that because you're going to get rid of that whole liner, so to speak, or the
right.
grout that you had?
There'll be a little bit of there'll be some lining to this right here,
okay,
but it won't be that concrete. I'm going to let Randy answer that. He's a trained professional.
Randy Pennock, 221 21st Place. Yeah, the whole idea behind the Pondless Waterfall was because of the maintenance thing. You don't have the chemicals to do. You don't have to worry about green water. You don't have to do things like that. Virtually, it would be self-feeding, so when it did require water, it would have a self-feed on it, so it would fill as needed. So regular maintenance, very, very low on it. Again, like Margot said, in the fall, you do have to pull the pump out. That's it. You don't really drain it either. Just pull the pump out is all you have to do. So it's very, very low. We kept that in mind for the park guys. On that.
I think our pump at the Arboretum lasted 10 to 15 years. So those heavy-duty pumps running continually is not a burnout factor with them, and it could even be put. Would it run continually or be put on a timer? It would be put on a timer. So we would like you to consider that so we can continue on and put it out to bid.
I have one other question.
Yes.
Is it a rubber membrane underneath the will be a rubber. So how will we keep people from walking up this waterfall and
They can walk on it.
They
Deer
won't
can walk
puncture
on
it?
They are not going to puncture the liner. I've never had a liner puncture.
I'll give it a
It's a similar mill to what they use for commercial roofing when they use those liner. It's, how many mil? 60 mil, so it's, you know, a whole stack of garbage bags. He has a more professional term than me. So please consider it, and any other questions, let us know. Yes.
I'd just like to thank you for taking this on. It's,
Yeah.
I think it's a great project with the high profile and Eagle Point Park and the lodge and everything.
Thank you. You know,
Thank you for
thank
looking
you.
into it.
All the improvements, the repaving up there, the lodge, the trees, it really needs to be done, and we really need to be proud of Eagle Point Park. So everyone in the community that has backed those projects, I want to thank them also, so thank you.
Well, there is a course of action here for the council if you're interested in approving to take.
I'll make a
$2,000
motion to move it onto the next meeting to approve it.
For the park donation fund.
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to make sure what you're making a motion for.
Yes.
How much?
Is there money in the
3,000.
park donation
No,
fund?
I understand that. What,
Okay.
do we know what the balance is of
Yeah.
the
Well,
7,000?
this is something that we can take out of
It's got it right there.
tourism.
Well, we have a park.
You're looking at me.
We do have a fund that people donate to. for the
Okay,
park.
that's
Yes,
fine.
okay.
So this
Get out of there.
is one of those appropriate type of categories for it, so.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Second?
Yeah, we have a second now. And then could we have roll call then if there's no other discussion?
Councilmember Gaspar?
Yes.
Seeley?
Yes.
McGraw?
Yes.
Allison?
Yes.
Odor?
Yes.
Connell?
Yes.
O'Neill?
Yes.
Thank you. Our third item tonight is the City of Comanche field usage. Josh?
Mayor, Council Administrator, Josh Eggers, Parks and Recreation Division. We were approached a few months back by the coordinator of the Comanche softball program that was basically a volunteer program. Their children had aged out, so there was nobody waiting in the wings to take it over. So they decided to relinquish their program. Therefore, it could fall underneath the Clinton Parks and Recreation Division, where we could run softball games for them. They could just be a part of the Clinton Parks and Rec program, just like all the other sports we have. In order to make this as seamless as possible, we want to be able to utilize the existing Platt Park softball fields in Comanche. And being this memorandum has language that would be indicative of insurance, we need to make sure that it gets mayoral approval. So that would have to come to your council, and then I would also have to go and present at the the March 21st Comanche Council if you guys so approve. So this could be an increase in program revenue for us. It'd be added registrations. There'd be no change to the program function as it is. So there could be some benefit there. The only cost that we would incur would be the daily preparations of fields, which we already do anyway. Program registration fees would more than offset that cost. We're talking maybe a half-hour drag, chalk, putting bases in at the appropriate distances. The daily upkeep of the maintenance of mowing, the maintenance of the grounds and facilities would still remain the responsibility of Comanche. This would just be, since there's actual insurance language in here, it just has to get mayoral and council approval. So I'm just presenting a memorandum of understanding for you guys to approve and for the mayor to sign to be able to continue to use those fields in Comanche at Platt Park. I've already spoken with our insurance company. City attorney recommended that we bring it to this committee today, or the committee of the whole today, and then get the mayoral signature from Comanche. So as soon as we can get those pieces in place, we should be able to move forward. Pretty seamless, relatively comparable to what we normally do. We use other fields already. We already were playing games in Comanche. They were already coming here in a home and home series. The only difference would be this would now be our program to run in Comanche. So I'll take any questions. If you
Who's responsible for lime if we get a lot of rain, and who has to?
We
foot the
would
bill
be,
for
as
that?
Parks and
Okay.
Rec, and we've already got that built into our budget as is for field maintenance. So there would be a small increase. Maybe we order a couple more bags of, Diamond Dry, things like that, a couple more bags of ag lime chalk, things of that manner. But again, those are always offset by program registrations. And just to kind of put in perspective a little bit, I think you're typically talking about 3 to 4 teams per league, and we run 4 leagues currently. The lower 3, 6th grade on down is our strongest, but you're looking at 3 to 4 teams, typically minimum increase for those programs. Plus, it's a win-win for us as well because we continue to play against Comanche because girls softball is the #1 declining sport in the U.S. today, so it's harder and harder to find teams to play against. And Clinton used to have maybe 7 or 8 teams in a league. Now you're down to 3, and that gets a little boring playing the same teams over. So we would play Comanche, we would play Fulton, but now we've got a chance to pool them together under one umbrella, the City of Clinton's umbrella, to play games and potentially gain revenue from their participants. And all we're trying to do is just keep their integrity of having a home game in Comanche like they've always had.
Councilmember O'Neill?
Thank you. So we're gonna take care of the field as far as
We would just do the
dragging
daily
and the
prep.
like.
If we had a
Okay.
game on that, if we have no game on Tuesday, we would not be traveling to Comanche. If we had a game on a Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, which is typical game nights, we would be driving there, bringing our trailer with our drag mat, our gator, our chalker, our liner, and getting all the painted lines, the chalk lines, getting the bases put into 60 foot. Like I said, probably about a half an hour per field. You're talking very minimal time to set this up.
So under our umbrella, our insurance will take care of it, and you're gonna supply the umpires.
Yes,
which
yep,
is the
we
field.
would staff it.
Okay, did I read somewhere here that they're gonna charge us to use the field?
No, not at this time. I do have a phone call from Mr., I think his name's Kaida from Comanche City Administrator, who did have a question about finances, but to my understanding, to this point, it was going to be just, they were not gonna have a program. We would continue to offer programming and just expand our offering to Comanche.
Okay.
Just like we do in soccer, we do it in flag football, tackle football. If they want to join our program, they certainly have the ability to, and if they decide not to, they have that option as well, so.
So we're continuing their program.
Correct.
Using their field, so
Yep.
it's a wash for expenses.
Exactly. Now, as far as the insurance liabilities would go, every participant still signs an assumption of risk form. If there was negligent on their grounds, perhaps that would, like let's say there was a stake out of the ground or something that one of their parks guys left out there, that would fall to them. If there was something that we did, we left a rake in the field and a kid steps on it, that would obviously fall to us. But otherwise, it's just inherent risk of playing in a sport. No different than our current sports programs that we have now, so.
So Julie Bray knows all about that?
Yes, yep.
Okay, all right.
And this is just covered under our existing? Okay,
Yep.
cool.
Thank you.
Okay, so council wishes to move this forward?
Yeah.
I think we
I'd entertain a motion.
I move that we move this forward to the next regular council meeting.
Okay.
Second.
Second.
So a motion and a second. Is there any other questions or discussions about it? Okay.
Nope.
Yeah, we haven't voted yet.
Your
so you
time
can
is
vote.
up, you're done.
My apologies. There is one thing in the language that I noticed that I wanted to revisit. If I could draw your attention to the therefore portion of the top.
Oh, one of them therefores.
Yeah, right. This MOU is agreed to a term of 3 years for 17, 18, and 19. I think initially we want to take this on a year-to-year basis, just in case the agreement just doesn't work. We have that out. So I would just make a request to make that change to a year-by-year basis. If 3 years down the road this is continuing on perfectly, then then we can maybe take it.
We're
to a
doing a
3-year.
first-year trial. to
Yeah,
see if we
right.
like it.
Yep.
Sounds good.
I just, real quick, I guess clarification for you, not that it really matters, but if they decide not to sign it in Comanche, do their kids have the opportunity to join our program?
They would still play with us. They would just play on Clinton Field.
On our
This
field.
is almost
Okay.
like a courtesy to extend.
Yeah,
keep
right.
the
Would they pay
status
an
quo.
out-of-city?
What's that?
Would they pay an out-of-city?
No.
Okay.
That's a good question, because a lot of cities do that, but when the YMCA closed in 2010 and a lot of their established programs came to the city of Clinton, there was such a volume of out-of-town teams that it was too significant to ignore, that we said, let's just waive that fee, because we've got 35–40% of our participants coming from out of town. Why penalize them anymore? So that kind of went away. And a lot of towns, I think, are kind of getting away from that resident versus non-resident fee. So,
That's great. Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Hearing no other questions, could we have roll call then, please?
Councilmember Gassman?
Yes.
Seeley?
Yes.
McGraw?
Yes.
Allison?
Yes.
Oder?
Yes.
Connell?
Yes.
O'Neill?
Yes.
Thank you. Our next item tonight is the agricultural land lease with John Thomas. Matt, do you want to take, or do you want to hand it off to Pat?
No, we can do dueling banjos. Basically, this is ready for signature. Lynch Dallas did all their due diligence on this. The question had come up from the council members, what happens if Rail One got interested in some of this land? And so there's actually stipulation that's written into this contract that gives us a flexibility. We feel it prudent that we get this onto the council as soon as possible, since planting season's right around the corner. We don't want to hold up John Thomas, who's been farming this field for quite some time in this area. So that's with Pat's comments as well. If you'd like to say anything else, I think it's ready to move to the next phase, which is a council meeting for your guys' discussion.
Yeah, no, it's a standard farm lease. There's nothing unusual or different about it. It doesn't mention Rail One, obviously. They're a separate entity entirely, and although they've expressed some interest in a parcel out there, part of the ground that we would be leasing to Mr. Thomas, we don't know when that's gonna come to fruition. I don't wanna speak for them, but I think if the city came to some agreement with Rail One, Rail One would deal with that situation in a manner that's allowed by the contract, and, you know, the city would not pay for that or be in any way, shape, or form,
Why don't you
I guess,
pull your mic-
disadvantaged.
Push your mic
So,
back. There you go.
I'm not concerned, I guess, about the Rail One issue. That's certainly something we can deal with separately.
Your Honor, how is the amount of rent per acre determined? And then this is a 3-year agreement too. I think that renews automatically, so we wouldn't have an opportunity to even talk about rent.
It does say it renews
It's
automatically.
page 4, 7.
Termination of lease.
Yeah, and see, and the rent was $280 or something in here, I
Yeah,
read.
yep.
And so I wanted to know, well, here it says either party would have to terminate the agreement if you wanted to come up with a different rent, for example. Otherwise, we're renting that property for $280 an acre for 3 years.
Yeah, we do that all the time as a regular, as a matter of course. And we've done this with Thomas as well. So we would just notify in February, or actually within 30 days of the expiration of the existing lease. And farmers all know this. I'm not concerned that it has a 3-year term or that it mentions that. We just would give notice at any point during any of those 3 years that we have something else we need to use the ground for. And Mr. Thomas knows that, and he knows that ground is specifically for a higher purpose, so to speak, and so he knows what the deal is with that.
I think it's a question of, what if we want to raise the rent?
Yeah, no, I mean, we would just renegotiate. We would say we're gonna terminate the lease, and if
Prior to March 1st.
prior to March 1st, and then if the tenant said, well, I don't wanna pay the higher rent, then that's too bad, then we'll run it to somebody else, I guess.
If you read page 4, number 7, termination, the lease shall automatically renew unless either party gives due and timely written notice to not to renew. So we have, every year we have the option, same as they have an option not to renew it too, if they decide not to.
Yeah.
Right, you're reading it correctly, that's right, Your
Did we
Honor.
though get the price from looking at what the airport rents that farmland out for, or what the CRDC rents their land out for?
Yeah, I don't, Steve did the analysis, and those numbers were run by Steve, and I don't know what he compared it to. I can certainly find out for you if you'd like.
What was it last year?
Yeah, what was last year's?
I don't know.
Oh, I'd like to know.
Michelle
what
and
we were-
Steve have constructed these.
Unfortunately, I know leases have been going down instead of up right now.
Business Park is a 1-year renewable lease.
Okay.
Well, the farm ground from the solid waste agency is, I think, went up. So I don't know.
But most of them are going down.
I'll get
Yeah,
you,
they're
I'll get you
going-
the price from last year, and then
Yeah.
what was this for this coming year, and what's the flexibility, and, but what's the market out there right now for this type?
Pat, I'm sorry.
That's all right. No, go ahead.
This additional provisions, is this your specific language on the number 19? So this kinda, a concern for me was, okay, we need to do something else with the land, cause it does have a higher and better end, purpose. We gotta pay $700 an acre
If there's crops in.
if there's crops on it.
Yeah.
Right, and what that's meant to cover is the contingency where we didn't know we needed it for some other reason prior to the crops going in.
Mm-hmm.
And so, in that eventuality, obviously Thomas needs to be compensated if we're gonna destroy his crops to,
Oh, yeah.
put something there. And that's
Now,
what
would he
that's
still
for.
be paying the 280? So let's say he
Yes.
paid us 280 an acre, and then we said we need 50 acres back. We give him $700 back.
If he's already planted.
If he's already planted.
Right.
Liquidated damage.
Exactly, it's just a liquidated damages
How is
provision.
that calculated?
This is a standard provision that is in the ISBA's recommended farm lease that
Okay.
most attorneys use in these cases, and it's a fairly standard provision.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be written that way, you can modify it if you wish, but we use the usual and standard and customary language that has been vetted and farmers are used to seeing, and it tends to work fairly to both sides.
Now, if it's not, let's say it happens before he plants, we find out we need it, then what?
Well, then, if it's before he plants, then there's no liquidated damages.
So
You
we
know, he
just-
runs a certain amount of risk, because if he buys his seed and he hasn't planted during that little window,
Yeah.
we would try never to do anything like that to a tenant, you know,
Yeah.
obviously. If we knew we needed the ground, we would tell them before any of that ever happened.
Well,
So
it
we're
says-
cut, yeah.
It says right here, if in the event that the tenant is not entitled to any compensation before the crop is harvested on the acres actually taken by the landlord, so.
Okay.
You know, so, we've
Yeah.
dealt with this before, actually, when we had Rail
Yeah.
One and NRM out there, because crops were in, and then we sold the land, and so we paid liquidated damages for the amount of acres that were,
Yeah.
we actually developed.
Yeah.
The tech park has done the same thing when they put the road in out there. There were several acres that became part of a roadway, so.
I don't think it was that much though, Your Honor. You
I
know, as
can't
far as
remember.
per acre, like the liquidated damage, I think it was 6, maybe less
It could
than
have been,
6.
I don't, I'd have to see another contract, so
Yeah.
that I don't, I
'Cause I
honestly
remember
don't know
that
about
too.
it. But I know
Anyhow,
there's liquidated
that's-
damage.
That's all I was wondering, how, you know,
I don't
close are
remember
today.
I don't remember the number, and it was me that initiated the last year's contract.
Well,
so-
why don't we, we can do one of two things here. You could move this forward if you want to, because we are getting close to crop plant
Yeah,
time.
that's fine.
But before next meeting, we'll get, well, actually, why don't you get them a copy of last year's lease? Since there was issues about what was the liquidated damages and what were the, and if you decide not to approve it in that, if they're
You
different.
can change it.
You can change it. But that way, at least we can keep it moving forward.
Would still like to know, Matt, those other
Well, you can get
lease, I mean, the other lease amounts from the other properties, right? You know, if it's the airport, if
Airport.
it's
Yeah, we have that too.
the
Business
business
park.
park.
We'll get you last year's lease too, so that you can see what we had from last year's lease.
I think they're just newly negotiated it.
Bear in mind, of course, that the farmer here,
Has signed it.
he's making his decisions right now. I
Yeah.
mean, he's already committed to this, he's already signed it, he believes this is what he's gonna owe, and he's probably basing a lot of his decisions on that, so. Just something to consider.
Councilmember O'Neill?
Thank you, Your Honor. I think we need to keep in mind that the probability at the slow pace, the snail pace that things move out with anything on or about the railport, the possibility of something happening between April and November at a lightning speed that we have to terminate and pay $700 is pretty minimal, because nothing that I've ever been around since, for the last 11 years, ever moved that fast in less than 8 months where we'd have to do that. That's the first thing. The other thing, I think I'm probably caused a lot of this commotion of this. I guess I was a little concerned, is the best word I can come up with, when it just popped up on the agenda for the council meeting. I think I've expressed the idea that to me, the committee of the whole is used as a buffer, so we get to read this stuff and go over it. And I accept the explanation I got from Steve Leninger in his email that a lot of this was a misunderstanding because the previous city administrator kind of assumed everything and really did put a schedule on it. But I guess I caution when there's things that are this important as far as land and the development of the rail park, if we need to have it done by March 1st for the farmers or anybody else's convenience, we need to have it before enough time so we can look it over and look at it. So, you know, I think, you know, something like this, if it's gonna come up again where time is of the essence, I guess I don't like getting boxed in that, and Mr. Thomas most certainly can't change the weather and can't change the planting season, so it's not his fault either. But, you know, sometime in January would be a good time to start looking at this and get it all finished up by March and, or by February, and so we're not rushing through this and trying to find old contracts. So that was just my biggest concern when it showed up on the agenda without going through the committee of the whole. Thank you.
And that was your new city administrator, because my assumption poorly made was that it was signed by the the person who was gonna lease it. That means it was completed by us to give to him to sign. So I will make sure that we correct that action next time.
Okay, yeah, I understand why, I just. Thank you.
Councilmember Seeley?
Thank you, Your Honor. The only other thing that's bothering me, Pat, and the termination of lease. It spells out it's year to year, then it says it automatically renews. Now, we've got, like Councilmember O'Neill said, it's snail pace out there, but that's not how we want it to be. and we need things to get going out there. So do we want this automatically renewing, or does this need to not automatically renew? Because if we're sitting here right now, coming down the line, and we know we got a prospect out there that's on the edge, is it in our benefit to have an automatic renewal?
Well,
Yeah, it does. I mean, you're never gonna have a developable area of town that isn't probably farm ground out there. I mean, any industrial park is gonna be planted with crops probably. We wanna keep all of our city ground productive.
Yeah.
If we can. So what this does is it just keeps the lease, it keeps the lease renewing. And if we have reason to know we're gonna do a development, we would terminate ahead of one of the years before the planting season. Can't do anything about the growing season.
Let's say this, we approve this. He's happy with it, he wants to lease it again.
Yeah.
We forget that we need to cancel
It's gonna
it.
renew, correct.
It's gonna renew, and then we're gonna go to him and say, oh man, we've got a developer coming in, he's taking these 50 acres.
Correct.
Well, I just planted my seed. Well, now we owe him $700. So how is it to our benefit for this to automatically renew is my question.
Well, first of all,
Well,
it's unlikely we're gonna owe him anything because any developer's gonna say, well, we have an issue with a farm lease. How much do we owe him? You know, that's what they're gonna do.
What I'm
And
getting at is
secondly-
things slip through the cracks all the time.
Yeah, and that's, but I mean, it's like this because we wanna keep the ground productive. And the chance of the timing being just like that, I mean, that's a chance that we have to take. That
I understand that. So you
But-
think that without that clause that ground won't be rented annually?
Pat, could I interject something?
Sure.
Dealing with the tech park that we have out there, they've done this for years out there. When you go and you terminate the lease on a 1-year lease, you gotta go out for bids for the land. You just don't go sit down and negotiate again with the one you have to offer it to other people, and then you have a bidding process. That takes a while. If you have
For this?
If you terminate the lease yearly.
Okay, so then
you-
why
if you
is
have
this
one-
even in front of us then? Did this go out to bid?
No. Because we're renewing it or whatever we're
It's just rolling.
It's
We've been doing.
It's just
leasing-
rolling, so that
we've been
verbiage
leasing to
means-
Thomas for years.
means
yeah,
nothing.
so-
But if you terminated it, you'd have to go out for bids.
No, I'm saying it doesn't need to automatically renew.
Then it goes out for bid.
I'm not saying it's terminating. Well, it didn't
You don't-
automatically
I
renew
actually
right
think-
now.
Pat, I actually think in the verbiage of farm leases, there is a requirement that they automatically are terminated unless you put a renewal clause in, they automatically terminate.
Well, there's different, you're right, there's different bar forms that you
The-
can use.
If
And
that's the
different-
case, then this would have had to go out to bid, because
It
we're
didn't
doing it
terminate.
right now.
We're renewing it.
But
He leased the ground last year,
Yeah.
and he continues to lease it.
He's
and we-
continuing to lease it.
Oh, it wasn't on a 3-year
Yeah.
basis?
Well,
We were leasing John Thomas's ground when I was at CRDC in
We
2004.
we've never terminated the
Yeah,
lease.
John Thomas has been leasing this for.
And the fact that Steve
13
just
years.
reviewed the language and updated it didn't change the fact that he's the current lessee.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
so, there
Nah,
seriously
whatever.
is no danger whatever to sign this, and, you know, there's
Well,
a,
I
there's a
know there's-
solution to get out of it no matter what happens. I mean, and
Well, yeah, a solution that could cost a
Yeah.
lot of money.
But not from us.
probably
We don't
not
have to
from
pay
us,
either.
you know, and I mean,
No, the person buying the land is most likely, we're gonna negotiate that as part of the
and in
deal.
in the scheme of a large development agreement, it wouldn't,
Yeah.
the city would, I don't think the city would be terribly concerned, but
It wasn't an issue when we had Rail One and NRM. It wasn't an issue out at the tech park when they put data dimensions in.
Yep.
Yeah.
If a developer fails to say this to the prospect, I think we need to fire our developer. I mean, that's
Yeah.
something that you know
Yeah.
that if they don't mention, oh, by
But
the way, they got liquidated damages in a
There's farm
contract for
leases.
farm ground,
Yeah.
we've got other issues, I
Every-
think.
Anybody that looks out there knows we're dealing with, they know there's a farm lease
Yeah.
involved with it, so it's not really an issue.
Okay.
Okay, so.
Motion to move it forward.
Yes.
Is that a motion by somebody?
That was me.
Him
Okay.
and him. Them.
Is one of you, out of that, was there a second in that somewhere? Okay.
I think I heard something.
Okay. Could we have roll call then, please?
Councilmember Seeley?
Yes.
McGraw?
Yes.
Allison?
Yes.
Odor?
Yes.
Connell?
Yes.
O'Neill?
Yes.
Gasky?
Yes.
Thank you. Oh, we're up to mayor council updates. Does anyone have anything? No one has any? Nobody has anything? I have one announcement from the Department of Transportation from their meeting today. Yes, they are.
Oh, good.
Yes, they are. For reconfiguration and rehabilitation of taxiway C and D, we had a request for $425,000. They have given us a grant for $382,500 toward the runway.
Yeah, all right.
So that came from Dave Rose. He sent that to me as he was coming back from DOT, that was announced.
Very nice.
Good.
So.
Where was that again?
At the airport.
Airport,
Oh, okay.
the two taxiways.
Taxiways.
The two taxiways.
Yeah, all right.
Perfect, good.
So we're getting 382,000 out of 425.
Very nice. That's good news.
And after that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Hopefully that includes,
You can ask Pat, she'll get
Just
you.
take it with
Take
you.
that
We'll
one
just
and
put
we'll,
another one.
you know what, I'll
Take
make,
another one.
shall I make a copy of mine, bring it in? Okay, yeah,
Take that with you, you can file.
trust me, we all had to go through this.
I think these were supposed to be passed out.
Oh,
Thank you. Oh.
what the heck?
Well, I didn't get one. Did you have one for me?
Oh, this is the gentleman with the tax
Oh,
sale.
the tax, okay.
You can't, you know, if you give up the property though, you can't lien anything. And, holy moly, man. There's a lot of money we need in there. Jeepers. I do. In my ward, are you familiar with Walker's car thing right across the road town? I want to talk to somebody because for some reason they're cleaning that up. That's like the bane of my existence in the ward. Well, now you can at least go home. You probably the little girl's gone to bed, huh?
Maybe.
Maybe? Kennedy, right?
Yes.
Kennedy, okay.
Maybe she's in bed, I don't know.
And then after that.